Jamie asked, how important is it to have hobbies outside of your career? And there's I love people shouting out other episodes to check out.
That's great.
Absolutely. This idea of having antidotes, counterbalance, other creative outlets, I think is hugely important. I think it's one of the most underrated parts of making records. And, some people, they're an artist and they're a recording artist, but also they'll paint on the side, or they'll whatever, like have some other creative thing.
Photography. Cooking.
I think the idea of having antidotes to what we do, because you're going to be in a position, especially as a record maker, but as an artist, the music business, you got to remember that those are two words that sort of contradict. Like art business, the idea of pure creativity and then commerce, the collision of art and commerce is a chaotic thing that on some level is, I think my brain has been trying to negotiate that since I was a kid. And that's why I became a producer, because I like helping people figure out who are making pure art and then also having an entrepreneurial thing, and how those interrelate is just fascinating to me. But anytime you're making music and it involves money, you are necessarily going to compromise something. And that may mean you're not doing the whole thing yourself. You're just compromising the identity of it because you're collaborating with someone. And compromise doesn't mean a bad thing. That's part of collaboration, is allowing other people to have input, and you may build greater things because of it, but it's an incomplete form of pure creativity. So I think it's always worth finding other outlets that allow you complete freedom. And even if that's, you like running, you like jogging in the morning, or you like painting, or you like reading about physics, or whatever it is, you do need things that are outside of what we do, because it gets stressful and it gets weird, and you do something that you think is brilliant, whether it's a distortion move on a vocal, or you write the best song and everybody goes, this sucks.
Pause.
Go.
Let's take out the word brilliant, right? Okay. The minute you say that I did something that was brilliant, you might as well just get slapped in the face. Unless you're Kanye West. What do you, like, even then, like, let's
I don't know. Go, but I don't know if I agree with this.
You can deem what you did was brilliant. That's for other people to decide.
I think that's true.
I made a brilliant move. That joke was brilliant that I made. I mean, let's talking about ridding yourself
joke is
or separating the side. No, deeming that your own joke is brilliant. Come on, your own words.
I'm saying that here's how, maybe brilliant's not the right word. I think it's worth being very delusionally excited about creative things that you're doing, to then hold on to that and not allow other people to have a response to it is the part where you can get in trouble. But I think you have to, in the moment, like I've probably written 500 songs where in the moment I'm like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever done. And then the next day...
How do you know?
You don't, but I think there's some, maybe this is more on sort of like the artist writer, but I know you've also... No,
I'm talking about it philosophically, not from any part of the music industry's creative process.
I'm talking about emotionally. I think it's valuable to be so delusionally excited about something where you don't worry about what the rest of the world thinks in that moment.
Totally, but
so I think that's what I'm getting at. But and if you're going to do that, you are inevitably going to be disappointed by the reality that
and you can do that without categorizing it or identifying it as a word like brilliant, or exceptional or visionary, and referring to yourself as said titles.
Absolutely.
And it still can be the case. But let's I just wanted to point out that word. But let's jump back to the hobby question, because what you're saying up until that point was really resonating, and I just needed to point that out because it's a trigger word for me. Like, to say that what you did was brilliant causes your brain to hold on to that even further, and you wouldn't be able to let go of that move, like I explained earlier.
It's an interesting balance too, because especially as artists, you're going to believe maybe it's more like belief, because you're going to believe before everybody else believes. You're going to believe that you have the ability to do something, or that what you're doing
not necessarily
can compete. Well, I think a lot of people you have to. I mean,
but as a painter, maybe your agent or manager believes in the piece more, or a designer believes in your piece more than you, and then you come around to understanding why it could connect with all different types of people.
That could be true too, yeah.
Hold on, let's jump back to hobbies for a second.
I'm getting lost in the weeds.
This can go really deep. I mean, it's great. It's really, I love it. But Spider put into the thread ways to stay human, right? And then that made me think of my friend Dallas K, who I think you know Dallas as well. Yeah. Songwriter, producer, he's amazing. He did something on Instagram yesterday. It was a poll, and it was work to live or live to work. And he showed that the music industry friends, the majority of them put live to work. And I was just like, wait, that's kind of sad. I mean, I'm guilty of that probably up until this year. So I can see both sides of it. I think I did live to work because I don't feel like making music is work. I feel really privileged and lucky to get to make art for a living. I still hold that perspective every day. Yeah. But at the same time, we work so we can do things and live. Like I work so I can eat good meals and be generous with my income and take friends and my girlfriend out to dinner and to go on trips. I'm going up north for the weekend on Friday to Sunday with Niku and just going to go away for a couple of days. Like I'm learning this now at 34, soon to be 35. Like I don't know about the live to work reaction in creative fields. It seems backwards, even though it makes sense fundamentally. Like we love what we do, but is that why we do it, to keep doing it, or do we do it to keep doing it to also live? I think those two. I don't want to not do what I do. I don't want people to think that that's what I'm talking about. Like stop doing what you love. There's just got to be a different way to communicate this. I think that little flip of phrase is a little is too simple to really, without really defining what those things mean. I mean, I may have said this on the stream. I said this to somebody earlier. I remember when I was dating somebody like 10 years ago, and it was a Sunday, and she texted me, "What are you doing?" It was Sunday afternoon. I was like, "I'm at the studio." She's like, "What are you working on?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just doing some." She's like, "Why are you at work on a Sunday?" And I said, "Well, I mean, I thought about it. I was like, I sort of felt like I was being accused of doing something crazy or like, and I was like, well, I had brunch with my friends and like I called my mom and I went on a run." Right. And then I was like, I worked my whole life to get to the point where I'd have a cool studio and 100-year-old piano. This is what I did on my this is what I did in my free time. Well before I made any money. This is what I love doing. So on some level, all I want to do is work, but in that sense, it wasn't work because I wasn't getting paid. But everything I do as a creative person, I might get paid off at some point. The majority of songs I write, I don't get paid off of, but I still love the process so much. So I don't know. That's a hard phrase to try to flip. I mean, but for me, most of the time, it doesn't feel like work. So I relate to that question. But I don't think I live to work. I think I live to create. Yeah. But I would try to think about work slightly different for those people that are not necessarily in the same place. Like people maybe that don't make music that are watching this or hearing about this, and someone that's just tuning in. We have to balance the two. But it's a little bit unrelatable to people that don't create for a living to understand why you'd be happily in the studio on a Sunday. I mean, I like work. It gets a bit to what we were talking about before about hobbies. Like to have things outside of what we do is just really important, because at various points when you do things that are purely creative or you're really excited about something and it gets rejected by the commerce aspect of it, you got to have other things to go to make yourself feel happy. I remember reading an interview with I can't remember the woman's name, but she goes by Bat for Lashes, and she was talking about having crazy writer's block and talking to her friend Tom York, and she's like, "What do? I got writer's block." He's like, "Go paint, go do something else creative, go." And she said as soon as she went and did something with no consequences, no pressure, it opened her up. There's an exercise that I like to do periodically, and I recommended it to other artists, and I got it from both from Sean Harris from the Matches and Maniac and other creative projects, and from Sarah Watkins of Nickel Creek and solo stuff as well, doing this exercise of writing a song a day for 30 days, with the idea being
the only goal is to finish a song, and actually on some level don't try to make something good. So you're just in the habit of doing creative output without consequences.
You're exercising the muscle.
As I need this to be great, I need this song to be a hit, or if you start doing that, a lot of times that just pulls you away from the pure creativity. So finding ways, either through tricking yourself, little hacks, or finding other hobbies to get your creative brain moving without consequences is a really important thing. I do versions of that all the time.
That's so important to bring up, because that's the problem with, or one of the problems with, LA songwriter scene bouncing in 3 and 4 sessions a day sometimes, is the pressure of you having to do your best work every time. It's impossible. It's impossible. I mean, we've talked about this in earlier episodes about repeating lyrics, and then maybe 1 or 2 songs will come out with that on it because you've repeated it and a different producer takes that and runs with it. I mean, there are so many opportunities like that, but what it really doesn't do is it doesn't exercise the muscle that says just do something, because there's so much pressure on you to create your best thing every day. And what if you don't know the person that you're going to collab with? That could be a great thing and spark new creativity because it's with a new person, or it could be the opposite, where you don't feel comfortable with this person, the vibe's not right. So that's a thing that's really important to touch on. I don't hear it discussed too often.
Yeah, the pressure to be great is really high, and it turns out I got to go read this part of the Steve Martin book, but he talks about how much harder it is to be consistently good than to have moments of greatness. To do something consistently well, you will have the great moments will come out of that, but you just got to kind of get in the mode of doing it.